Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Our guest today is Professor Ching-Hsin. He's the Director of Election Studies at National Chengchi University. Professor you mentioned referendum. And as we know that this time we also had two referendum issues, but neither of them get enough support to be validated. How do you see the result of the election referendum?
Well, the referendum, I don't see the possibility to be passed because we have a very high threshold for the passage of the two referendum. But in practice, well, the referendum issue should be quite important for Taiwan because it's a proxy for Taiwan's international participation. But unfortunately, people believe that, well, we put the referendum together with president election is not good. So I don't think it is not whether the referendum is good or bad. I think it's a timing. Timing is bad for the for the two referendum issue to be passed in this time. Yeah.
But like it or not, these two referendum, which is related to Taiwan's international participation, did not get passed. How should we read the result of the election? I think the international community will read by saying that Taiwan didn't want to be a part of the international community. Do you think that's the right interpretation?
No, because I believe majority of people in Taiwan think that the true referendum has been very crucial electoral engineering for the DPP. The perception is strong, particularly they have experience in 2004. So this time when the DPP join Taiwan, join the UN referendum, and also the KMT bring the other counterpart referendum called return in the UN. People they just got confused and they said, well, this is just some jokes or some tricks, electoral tricks between the two major political parties. So in the beginning, the voters they don't look very serious on these two referendums. So this also obstruct the passage of the referendum.
Yeah, and also unfortunately, the referendum has some very important democratic mechanism. Now had a bad name, as a result of this tying or putting together with the elections. How can we return the good name to the referendum mechanism?
Well, so far we have engaged in 5 referendum, and unfortunately we spoiled the mechanism of referendum. How can we have a good way? I believe that the system is good, but we didn't put it in a good way.
Yeah.
Perhaps we try to revise the threshold, the high threshold of the legal regulations on the one hand. And also, we put another, non-campaign issue as a referendum issue. That would be much more easier and much more clear for people to understand what you're talking about. And this one will make people say that, we do have a serious referendum, not only for electoral campaign. This is very important for people in Taiwan to know about how can you utilize this mechanism.
But two separate issues have been discussed. One is whether we should lower the threshold for passing the referendum. Now it's very high. 50% of the eligible voters plus 50% say yes. Do you think we should try to lower the threshold?
Yes. In terms of democratic essence, is that we should lower the threshold because it belongs to the people. The rights belong to the people to have a referendum. If you put the referendum that high, then it's quite difficult for the people to join or to participate in that. So I would say that it's not good to put that high threshold. And also, maybe the legislative organism or legislative mechanism, they should not have the right to review who have a right to propose the referendum because referendum is, by definition, a direct democracy.
So we should abolish the review committee of the referendum?
Well, we should not abolish, but the review committee should not have substantial power to revise or to do that. It has some, just formal procedures to review.
That's right.
And the right for referendum belongs to the people. So people become the first priority, not a political party, not a legislative, even not a president too. So rather than try to redress some legislative failure or some administrative failure either by the Congress or by the president. So by this definition, people should have more power for the referendum.
In addition to the threshold issue, another issue that is related to referendum is whether it's legitimate, okay, to tie the date of referendum with the date of election. What's your take on that?
I don't think it's a big problem because in other countries such as Europe, well, they put the referendum and election together.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Unfortunately, in Taiwan, people just thinking that, well, it turns into electoral engineering for political parties. So that's bad for that. So in case in next president election or next legislature, we still have a referendum. But if the issue for referendum is not that political, for example, to have some sunshine law referendum and such, that will be quite political neutral, and it's quite easy for the referendum to be passed, and that would be important.
But another thing that people learn from the previous experience is that boycotting the referendum has become one way to expose your identity. In other words, the very importance of a confidentiality or secrecy to balloting is now being violated by boycotting. What do you think about that?
If the referendum issue is not initiated by a particular party, then we should not have this kind of worry.
That's right.
Okay. When you say that people worry about their secrecy of voting to be exposed by a political party or by whoever, it's because the issue has too much political in that issue. So the problem is that we should put some real issue for referendum, not political issue or some vocal issue. Yeah.
And also, yes, there will be a lot of issues that can be put on referendum as well. But the thing is, the threshold for collecting signatures to initiate a referendum bill is quite high.
Yeah.
Do you think we should also try to lower the threshold for making that a valid referendum?
I would say that, well, the overall regulation for referendum has to be revised in every way, actually, because the referendum has been quite political product in 2 years ago. Or even when it was produced by the legislature, it has been too political. So at that time, those legislators, they just create a very high hurdle for the referendum.
That's right.
What they believe is that, well, I provide this mechanism, but I believe you are not able to use that. That's their mentality. So in order to implement direct democracy in Taiwan, I would say that we should have take very serious consideration to revise the whole regulations. Yeah.
But you mentioned the so-called direct democracy. In other words, people should have the right to directly voice their preference and so on. But we also have the representative democracy with the legislation in power, in house. How do you balance the two?
Well, referendum should not be used too much, actually. The norm should be representative democracy. Yeah. Because people should not, people don't have that much time to care about politics. And to some degree, I don't like to see that people are too actively engaged in politics, to be mobilized. Because, everything seems to back to normal, that, the legislators just do their duty. And in case they fail their duty, then people just stand up and to say that, we have some referendum. So by this rationale that referendum should be, not that normal, is a less result for people to say something to against the legislature, to say that, our representative have failed their duty, so we stand up to do ours. Yeah.
You mentioned the so-called sunshine law earlier, but people have been saying that we should try to create some mechanism that can hold the representatives or legislators accountable to the electors. And for instance, people say that we should televise all the proceedings of the legislature. But the legislature was somewhat resilient to that kind of ideas. What's your view on that?
I agree. We should terrorize those people in the Congress because they spend our money. Yeah. And, sometimes they just perform before the camera, but we don't know what they do behind the camera.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have to have a more transparent process, particularly more transparent congressional procedure, what they have done in the committees.
Yeah.
And many major policies has been decided by very few people in the Congress, maybe even 2 or 3 legislators will decide our budget. Yeah. That was quite observed in a sense. And also, we never know what they have a say or they have a compromise before the final legislation. So we should be more open and televised, even more transparent process for the Congress, and that would be very important, particularly in the timing for one party dominate.
That's right. Yeah. But as we know that yes, inside the legislature, the opposition party is quite marginalized. NGOs, in Taiwan has been advocating that kind of televised, proceedings, but are they influential enough in making enough pressures on those people?
Well, why not use referendum? We can raise some revenue and say, well, we will try to televise congressional process. So if we got enough, justification to persuade people, then it's not that difficult to pass the referendum.
Yeah.
When the referendum was passed, how the legislators say no. They cannot say no. So that will be a very important mechanism. And this is also the utility for our referendum mechanism for us.
Yeah. In the previous elections, especially in this election, there have been all kinds of opinion surveys conducted by different academic institutions, media, and of course campaign headquarters. But there are different views in Taiwan society whether those opinion surveys, especially published by the media, were reliable. So when we come back, we'll talk about your views on different opinion surveys and how can you be more scientific of doing this kind of academic and polling activities. We'll be back after this message. Don't go away.